हरिः ओम् नमस्सर्वेभ्यः। अष्टाध्यायी परिचयः इत्यस्य अद्य 50तमः पाठः। अस्मिन् वर्गे सर्वनामशब्दानां सुबन्तप्रक्रियायाः अध्ययनं कुर्मः। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। अस्माकं वर्गस्य द्वे प्रयोजने अष्टाध्याय्याः आहत्य षट्शतस्य सूत्राणां व्याख्यासहितम् उदाहरणसहितं च अध्ययनं, तथा च अष्टाध्याय्याः प्रथमाध्यायस्य प्रथमपादस्य द्वितीयपादस्य च कण्ठस्थीकरणम्। गिव् मी 1 मिनिट्। ओके, प्रारभामहे। सुबन्तप्रकरणस्य अध्ययनस्य अद्य अन्तिमः पाठः। सुबन्तप्रक्रियायाः सर्वाणि अपि सोपानानि पूर्वस्मिन् वर्गे अस्माभिः अधीतानि सन्ति। प्रायेण सर्वेषाम् अपि शब्दानां सर्वाः प्रक्रियाः इदानीं भवद्भिः लेखितुं शक्यन्ते। केवलं सर्वनामसम्यक्शब्दाः अवशिष्टाः सन्ति। So there is a special group of words that are called sarvanama. एतेषां विषये सुबन्तप्रक्रियायां विशिष्टानि सूत्राणि प्रयुज्यन्ते. So for example, you have Ramah, Ramo, Ramaha, but for Sarva you have Sarvah, Sarvau, Sarve. Or for Chaturthi Ekvachanam there is a Sarvasmai. So in this way there are special sutras that operate specifically for Sarvanama words. So we are going to talk about that. Tatra prarambhe Sarvanama इत्यस्य कः अर्थः इति पश्यामः। तत्र सर्वनाम इति प्रातिपदिकानां कश्चन विशेषः गणः अस्ति. A group of प्रातिपदिकास् is called सर्वनाम. सूत्रपाठे 1127 सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि इत्यतः आरभ्य 1136 अन्तरं बहिर्योगोपसव्यानयोः इति सर्वेषु सूत्रेषु एते सर्वनाम सम्यक् शब्दाः पाठ्यन्ते. So if you go to the Sutra Patha, this is the Sutram 1127 Sarvadini Sarvanamani. Start from this. Sarvadini Sarvanamani Vibhashadik Samase Bahuvrihau Na Bahuvrihau Tritiya Samase Dvandvecha Vibhasha Jasi Prathama Charamatayal Pardhakatipayane Mascha Purva Paravara Dakshinottara Paradharani Vyavasthayam Samdnyayam Swamadnyati Dhanakhyayam Antaram Bahiryogopasavyanayoho. So across all these sutras starting from 1127 to 1136, all Sarvanama Samyaka words are taught. Out of that, the most important sutram is this 1127 Sarvadini Sarvanamani. अस्य सूत्रस्य कः अर्थः? सर्वादिगणे विद्यमानानां शब्दानां सर्वनाम इति संज्ञा भवति. So in the Gana Patha, the very first Gana is the Sarvadi Gana, and whatever words you see in this Sarvadi Gana are called Sarvanama. That is the basic sutram, the most important sutram in the beginning. After that, whatever sutras are presented starting from 1128 all the way up to 1136, etaihi sutraihi विशिष्टानां शब्दानां विशिष्टेषु स्थलेषु सर्वनाम संज्ञा विधीयते. Somebody has written a comment over here. These sutras we have memorized. I am very happy to read this comment. Yes, प्रथमाध्यायस्य प्रथमपादस्य द्वितीयपादस्य च कण्ठस्थीकरणम् अत्र करणीयम्. So this is at the beginning of 1.1. So if you have memorized this, most of you should have. So this entire sequence would be obviously on the tip of your tongue. And you will understand that once you, not in this course, but later on, once you start studying Sarvanamas, maybe in some other course in details, these sutras will flow very beautifully and you will see why these sutras are arranged in this particular way. Anyway, coming back to the topic. So, except for Sarvadini Sarvanamani, for all other sutras starting from Vibhashadik Samase Bahuvrihau up to Antaram Bahiryogo, specific situations, very unique situations are considered, and in those situations some words get Sarvanama Samnya. So for example, 1128 is about a special type of Bahuvrihi Samas called as a Dik Bahuvrihi Samas. Then there is a 1130 which is about a special type of Tritiya Tatpurusha. 1131 is a Dvandva Samasa. In 1133 there are a few more words, Prathama, Charama, Taya and so on. So specific words under specific conditions are being called Sarvanama or are being negated. So there are also negations. Na Bahuvriho, Tritiya Samase, Dvandvecha. So all these are actually negations. So negation, so existing words which might have gotten Sarvanama Samnya are negated, or some words in a very special context are given Sarvanama Samnya. That is all the sutras from 1128 to 1136. We are not going to study them in the course. What we are going to study is only the very first sutram, Sarvadini Sarvanamani. So let's go back to the presentation. Sarvanama iti pratipadikaनां विशेषः गणः तत्र एतानि सर्वाणि सूत्राणि सन्ति तत्र सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि इति मुख्यतमं सूत्रं सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दाः सर्वनामसंज्ञकाः भवन्ति इति अस्य सूत्रस्य आशयः अस्य प्रकरणस्य अवशिष्टैः सूत्रैः केषाञ्चन विशिष्टानां शब्दानां विशिष्टेषु स्थलेषु विकल्पेन सर्वनामसंज्ञा विधीयते एतानि सूत्राणि अस्माकं पाठ्यक्रमे न सन्ति केवलं सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि इति सूत्रम् अस्माभिः अद्य अध्येतव्यम्. Now, before we move on, one very important point to understand. In English, we use this word called pronoun. A general translation of pronoun might be understood as a sarvanama. Parantu, Samskrita Vyakarani, sarvanama is not exactly translatable as pronoun. There is 95% overlap because the concept of pronoun in English and the concept of sarvanama in Sanskrit is more or less same, but it is not a straight one-to-one mapping. Sarvanama ityukte pronoun iti na, यद्यपि प्रायेण सर्वे अपि प्रोनाउन शब्दाः सर्वनाम संज्ञकाः सन्ति तथापि केचन प्रोनाउन शब्दाः सर्वनाम संज्ञकाः न सन्ति. So many is a pronoun in English, but it is the corresponding word bahu is not a pronoun in Sanskrit. Not just that, अनेके non-pronoun शब्दाः अपि संस्कृते सर्वनाम संज्ञकाः सन्ति. So पूर्व, which tells about the previous kala or the east direction, para, so later on, dakshina, sama, all these words are sarvanama samyaka words. Even the number eka, the number dvi are sarvanama samyaka. 3 and onwards are not sarvanama samyaka, but eka and dvi are sarvanama samyaka. So there is no one-to-one mapping between pronoun and sarvanama. Sarvanama ityasya का व्याख्या इति चेत् सर्वादिगणे विद्यमानाः शब्दाः सर्वनाम संज्ञकाः सन्ति. So in English, probably the definition involves the usage. Is it accompanying a noun? So a pronoun like his, her, and so on, he, she, those would be called sarvanama. So usage has to be seen. Whereas in Sanskrit, the usage doesn't need to be seen. The definition is very simple. Look at that sarvadigana. If the word is in sarvadigana, then it is called sarvanama, irrespective of what the usage is. Obviously, in most of these cases, it is the word in that specific meaning. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. Now, one question that might come over here is sarvanama samnya kimartham kruta asti? So in English, when you have that pronoun which has a semantic meaning associated with it, it at least makes some sense. But in Sanskrit, if it is just a group of words that is being called sarvanama without actually understanding their meaning, then why is sarvanama samnya, or without you actually understanding their semantics associated with the main noun, then why are they called sarvanama? So Samskrite sarvanama samnyayaha prayojanam rupanam siddhihi iti asti. सर्वनाम सम्यक शब्देभ्यः विहितानां सुप प्रत्ययानां विशिष्टाः आदेशाः विधीयन्ते. So in the Subanta Prakriya, Sarvanama words undergo a different Prakriya. In the Tadhita Prakaranam, Sarvanama Pratipadikas have special Pratyayas attached to them, which the normal words do not get. Therefore, a special category of words is needed, and that is called Sarvanama. And that category is basically the list of words given by the sutram Sarvadini Sarvanamani. सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि इति सर्वनामसंज्ञायाः मुख्यतमं सूत्रम् अनेन सूत्रेण सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दाः सर्वनामसंज्ञकाः भवन्ति. This is the सर्वादिगण. It is the same one that is available on the gana patha. Let's read it slowly. Sarva, Vishwa, Ubha, Ubhaya, Datara, Datama. So these two are pratyayas. Sarva, Vishwa, Ubha, Ubhaya are normal words. Datara and Datama are tadhita pratyayas. Then again the list of words start. Anya, Anyatara, Itara. So Anya is there, Anyatara is there, but Anyatama is not there. So there are reasons for that. So Anya, Anyatara, Itara. Tvat, Tuva. So very similar looking Sarvanama, but Ta is there in one of them and Ta is not there in another. So Tvata, Tuva, Nema, Sama, Sima. This is the list of words. Then 3 sutras are given in that particular gana. So in the gana patha, we have discussed this much earlier in the course while talking about the gana patha. But in the gana patha, along with the words, certain sutras are also present. So there are 3 sutras present in the Sarvadi gana. These are called gana sutrani. Purva paravar dakshinottara paradharani vyavasthayam samjnayam swamadhyati dhanakhyayam and antaram bahiryogopasavyanayoho. Now we talked about the fact that most of you have memorized 1.1. So you will immediately observe that there are 3 sutras in Ashtadhyayi in the Sarvanama Prakaranam which are exactly like this. So if you go to the Sutra Patha, look at this. There is a sutram called 1133. Prathama Charamatayalpa, not 1133, 1134. Purva Paravar Dakshinottara Paradharani Vyavasthayam Samnyayam Swamadhyati Dhanakhyayam and Antaram Bahiryogopasavyanayoho. There are these 3 sutras of Ashtadhyayi, and then in Ganapatha exactly the same wording is present. Purva Paravar Dakshinottara Paradharani Vyavasthayam Samnyayam Swamadhyati Dhanakhyayam and Antaram Bahiryogopasavyanayoho. These 3 Gana Sutras, even though they look exactly the same, are not the same. The meaning of Gana Sutras is different. The meaning of Ashtadhyayi Sutras is different. The meaning is quite related or talking about the same set of words. Therefore, Panini Maharshi chose to put the same sutras in the Sarvadi Gana itself. So Purva Paravar Dakshinottara and so on, 3 sutras in Sarvadi Gana are Gana Sutras. Their meaning is different. The similar looking or identical looking 3 sutras in Ashtadhyayi, their meaning is different. So these are the 3 Gana Sutras. After that, again a new list starts. New list in the sense a list of words starts. It's still the Sarvadi Gana only. Now some of the familiar words are there. So Tyada, Tada, Yada, Etada, Idam, Adas, Eka, Dvi, Yushmad, Asmat, Bhavatu. Bhavatu is that, Bhavan Kathamasti, that Bhavat, and Kim. So this last list is, I think, the most popular in introductory grammar classes. Anytime you teach Sarvanama to your students, you give examples of Tad, Yat, Edat, Idam, Adas, Yushmad, Asmad, Kim, and so on. So this is this last list. This particular last group of words, which starts from Tyad up to Kim. So Tyad, Tad, Yad, Etad, Idam, Adas, Ekadvi, Yushmad, Asmad, Bhavatu, Kim. This particular group of words is also called Tyadadi Ganaha. Tyad Adi Yasya Asti. So Tyadadi Ganaha. Sometimes people stop the Tyadadi Ganaha till Dvi. Sometimes people take it till Kim, because Tyadadigana is used in 2 different contexts. In one context, the words till Kim are used. In other context, the words till Dvi are used. So you adhere to one definition and then either extend it or restrict it for the other use case. But for simplicity, let's say that from Tyada onwards to Kim, this particular subset of Sarvadi is called Tyadadigana. So let's revise what we just now talked. Asmin gane datara datama iti dvau pratyayau sthapitau staha etau pratyayau tadantasya nirdesham kurvanti इत्युक्ते डतर प्रत्ययान्त शब्दाः. There are 5 of them. Katar, tatar, yatar, ekatar, and I think something else. And similarly, datama are 5 words. So datara pratyanta shabdaha and datama pratyanta shabda. It will be written. My commentary over here is extremely exhaustive. So katara, yatara, tatara, and ekatara. Only 4, not 5. And similarly, katama, yatama, tatama, and ekatama. So these are the datara and datama pratyanta words. I have listed it over here. My commentary on Sarvadini Sarvanamani is very well written. Please read it, those of you who are interested. So these are the pratyanta shabdas. अस्मिन् गणे त्रीणि गणसूत्राणि अपि सन्ति. एतैः सूत्रैः विशिष्टानां शब्दानां विशिष्टेषु अर्थेषु सर्वनामसंज्ञा उक्ता विधीयते. सर्वादिगणे विद्यमानानां त्यद इत्यतः अग्रे विद्यमानानां शब्दानां लघुगणः. सो स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम दिस त्यद टू किम त्यदादिगणः इति नाम्नापि ज्ञायते. सो इट इज अ सबसेट ऑफ सर्वादिगण. त्यदादिगणस्य संदर्भेण सुबन्त प्रक्रियायां विशिष्टम् अन्यत् कार्यमुक्तमस्ति. सो देयर इज अ जनरल कार्यम ऑन सर्वादिगण and then there is a special कार्यम on त्यदादिगण. So the त्यदादिगण is also explicitly told. There is no separate entry of Tyadadigana in the Ganapatha. Only the subset of the Sarvadigana starting from Tyad up to Kim is called Tyadadigana. Somebody is asking, what about Tarap and Tamap? So Tarap and Tamap are two different Tadhita Pratyas. They are different than Datara and Datama. Tarap and Tamap are not referenced over here. So Tarap Pratyanta was like Patutara, Laghutara. Similarly, Tama Pratyanta was like Patutama, Laghutama, and so on are not Sarvanama Samyaka. Datara and Datama are special pratyayas in Tadhita Prakaranam, only attached to 4 words: Yada, Tada, Etada, and Kim. Only for those 4 words. So ironically, Yada, Tada, Etada, and Kim are themselves Sarvanama words. So Yada, Tada, Etada, and Kim. So only, not Kim, Eka. Let me check. Yada, Tada, Etada, and Eka. What are the words? Let's see. Kim, Yada, Tata, and Eka. What? So Kim, Yada, Tada, and Ek, I think. Ek. So what did I say? Not Etad. Yada, Tada, Kim, and Ek. Let's erase this. I never use this eraser on the screen. Yada, Tada, Eka, and Kim. For these 4 words, Datara and Datama are applied to form 4 words of which are Dataranta and 4 words which are Datamanta. So these are all Sarvanama Samyaka words. Any more questions on this? So let us go ahead. Abhyas krame kim pathamaha, because specifically for the Sarvadini Sarvanamani Sutram I can take 4 or 5 classes. There's so much material and so much stuff to discuss, and those of you who are interested should actually read this entire commentary. It keeps on going, look at this, and there is a much more stuff that is not written over here, so it's worth understanding what we are going to talk today. So अस्माकम् अभ्यासक्रमे सर्वनाम सम्यक शब्दानां विषये किं पठामः. सो सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि इति सूत्रस्य अर्थः अस्माभिः अग्रे दृश्यते, तस्य व्याख्या अपि अस्माभिः अधीयते. Out of all those सर्वनामा words, सर्व, तद, एतद, द्वि, भवत् and किम, एतेषां षण्णां सर्वनाम शब्दानां अस्माभिः सुबन्त रूप सिद्धिः अपि अध्येतव्या. So these 6 words are there in the list of 70 words. So which 6 words? Sarva is there, tad, yad, etada, kim, and bhavat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and dvi is also there. So which is not there? I forgot. So tada, etada, yada is not there in the list. I think yada is very similar to tada, but I don't know if it is there in the list. But whatever. So tada is there, etad is there, dvi is there, bhavatu is there. Kim, sarva, tada, eta. So sarva is there, tada is there, etad is there, dvi, bhavatu, kim, and yada is very similar to tada. So automatically, even tyada is very similar to tada. So all these will automatically learn. But for now, in I think those 70 words, sarva, tad, etad. I don't remember if I gave yada or not. but let's assume yada is similar to that. Dvi bhavat kim etesham subanta rupa siddhi tatra bhavat shabdah asmabhi पूर्वम adhitah. So bhavat shabdasya sarvanama samnyayaha prayojanam tadhita prakarane drishyate. There is no specific karyam associated with bhavat in the subanta prakriya with the sarvanama as the property. So bhavat shabdah adhita purvah anyesham adhyanam adya kurmah. More importantly, अस्माकम अभ्यासक्रमे सर्वनाम शब्दानां संदर्भेण किं न पठामः. So we are not going to talk about the vyutpattis and the meanings of the word in the sarvanama gana, sarvadi gana. So what is vishwa, what is ubha, ubhaya, what is datara, datama, anya, anyatara, tvatva. Meanings of those of you are interested, I have already elaborated them on the website. Go and learn, or you can use kosha also. सर्वादिगणे विद्यमानानां गणसूत्राणाम् अर्थाः अपि अस्माभिः न द्रक्ष्यन्ते. We are not going to study the meanings of those three गणसूत्रास. सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दानां वाक्ये प्रयोगः कथं भवति. So there are some quirks, there are some small rules that you have to remember while using the words of सर्वादिगण in the sentences. Again, we will not talk about that. And finally, सर्वादिगणस्य उपरि निर्दिष्टान् षट् शब्दान् विहाय अन्येषां शब्दानां रूपसिद्धि अपि अत्र अस्माकम् अभ्यासक्रमे नास्ति. So specifically, the discussion from now onwards is going to be focused for the रूपसिद्धि of these 6 words. Let's start the sutrartha, adhyanam of the sutra. Everything is taught, just collected over here. Sarvadini sarvanamani, sarvadini shabdaswarupani, sarvanama samyakani. सर्वनाम सम्यानि स्युः. So सर्व आदीनि सर्वनामानि, सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दाः सर्वनाम सम्यकाः भवन्ति. The gana is given over here. सर्वनाम प्रदेशाः, सर्वनाम्न स्थितिया च इत्येवमादयः. More important point to understand is सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दाः यदा विशेषनाम रूपेण प्रयुज्यन्ते तदा ते सर्वनाम सम्यकाः न सन्ति. So if you have a person whose name is Sarva, or if you have a person whose name is Vishwa, then that is not a Sarvanama Samyaka word, it is a proper noun. Vishishteshu artheshu. So look at the word. The word itself gives out the meaning. Sarvanama. It can be used as a replacement for all types of nouns. That's exactly pronoun. So that meaning actually translates. So that's why I said 95% you will see the overlap. So सर्वनाम सर्वेषां नाम्नां स्थाने अस्य शब्दस्य प्रयोगः संभवति वा अनेन प्रकारेण. सर्वेषां means appropriate linga and so on. So एतादृशः प्रयोगः कर्तुं शक्यते चेदेव सर्वनाम संज्ञा भवति. So सर्व, if there is a town called Sarva, or if there is a group or a person called Vishwa, then that are not sarvanama samyaka, which means that Vishwa chaturthi ekvachanam will be Vishwaya. So if you have a friend called Vishwa, you will say Vishwaya dadami, not Vishwasmai, but Vishwaya. So सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दाः यदा विशेषनाम रूपेण प्रयुज्यन्ते तदा ते सर्वनाम सम्यकाः न सन्ति. कस्यचन मनुष्यस्य नाम सर्व उत विश्व अस्ति चेत् सः नामवाचक शब्दः सर्वनाम सम्यकः न, केवलं विशिष्टेषु अर्थेषु एव सर्वादिगणस्य शब्दाः सर्वनाम सम्यकाः भवन्ति. This remind me, the very first word of Vishnu Sahasranam is Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkaro. That Vishwa is considered Sarvanama Samyaka because even though it is a special noun or a name of Vishnu, it actually represents the meaning of this Vishnu, Vishwa, which is Jagat. So Vishwa, this Vishwa over here, it means Jagat, the world, or it also means Sarva. The meaning of this Vishwa is also same as Sarva. I have written it over here. Let's go to the... So विश्व शब्द से अनेके शब्दाः सन्ति. जगत अर्थे विश्वना सर्वनाम संज्ञा न भवति. So my mistake. So जगत, पृथिवी, विष्णु नाम कश्चन परिमाण भेद आदि अर्थेषु विश्व शब्दस्य सर्वनाम संज्ञा न भवति. I'll just cross verify whether this is written is correct or not. But specifically when you talk about the name of Vishnu, the Vishwa word in that Vishnu Sahasranama is used to indicate not just a random name, but Sampurnam, Sakalam, and so on. And therefore, the Chaturthi Ekvachanam, usually in books, you will find it as Vishwasmai Namaha rather than Vishwaya Namaha. So that is an exception. There, the meaning itself matches the meaning of Sarva or all. Therefore, Vishwa Ityasya Sarvanama Samnya Bhavati. And then this Jagat and so on, I'll just cross check whatever is written over here is correct. If not, I'll fix. So this is the discussion on the Sarvadini Sarvanamani. If there are any questions specifically related to this sutram, you can ask. Otherwise, we will go to the actual Rupa Siddhi of the first word called Sarva. So the first word in the Sarvadi Gana is called Sarva. That's why the Gana is named Sarvadi Gana. Sarva iti shabdaha sakalam samagram अस्मिन् अर्थे सर्वनाम सम्यकः अस्ति. सर्व इति शब्दस्य त्रिषु अपि लिङ्गेषु रूपाणि भवन्ति. स्त्रीलिङ्गे टाप् प्रत्यये कृते सर्वा इति प्रातिपदिकं प्रयुज्यते. सर्व शब्दस्य त्रिषु अपि वचनेषु रूपाणि भवन्ति. So even if sarva on the face of it all might sound like an inherently bahuvachana word, it has a forms in all the vachanas. So ekavachane samohasya nirdeshartham sarva shabdasya prayogaha kritaha drishyate. Sarvasya hrudi ईश्वरः. So सर्वस्य हृदि अहम सन्निविष्टः इत्युक्ते सर्वस्य भूत समूहस्य हृदि ईश्वरः वर्तते. So सर्व और सर्वः जनः गतः, the entire crowd went. So in order to indicate the samuha, you can use the word sarva in ekvachanam. समग्रम इत्यस्मिन् अर्थे अपि सर्व शब्दः एकवचने प्रयुज्यते. सो सर्वा कथा श्रुता, आई हर्ड द एंटायर स्टोरी. कथा समग्र रूपेण श्रुता इति आशयः. सो समग्र रूपेण, सो इट्स ओनली वन कथा बट समग्र रूपेण श्रुता. अतः तत्र समग्रम अस्मिन् अर्थे सर्वा इति शब्दः सर्व स्त्रीलिंगे सर्वा इति शब्दः, नो चेत् सर्वः ग्रन्थः, सर्वं पुस्तकं. सो ऑल लिंगास् आर पॉसिबल, एकवचने प्रयुज्यते. This interesting use case is द्विवचनम. द्विवचने द्वि अवयवात्मकस्य समूहस्य निर्देशार्थम सर्वशब्दः प्रयुज्यते. So a samuha which has inherently two parts. So sarvau subanta tingantau padasamyakau. So subanta tinganta is a group which is inherently divided into subantas and tingantas, and now you are talking about subanta as one group and tinganta as one group. So it is the same meaning as a samuha that you used in ekvachanam, but now there are two samuhas, so you will say dvivachanam. Sarvau subanta tingantau padasamyakau. This is a classic example, you can also find it in commentaries. And third one, bahuvachane, that's the common use case. Samuhasya avayavanam, so individual entities are to be discussed, you use sarva in the bahuvachana. Sarve subantaha padasamyakaha. So here you are not focusing about subanta as a samuha, but you are looking at the individual members of that group. So samuhasya avayavanam nirdeshartham prayogaha kriyate chet bahuvachane prayogaha bhavati sarve subantaha padasamyakaha iti. अनेन प्रकारेण सर्व शब्दस्य त्रिषु अपि वचनेषु तथा च त्रिषु अपि लिंगेषु रूपाणि भवन्ति. सर्वौ स्त्री पुरुषौ. Somebody gave an example over here, स्त्री पुरुषौ. So स्त्री पुरुषौ, in that case, if you are considering स्त्री as one samuha and purusha as another samuha, then that particular example is possible. But in general, Stree as one samuha and Purusha as one samuha is not a norm. So you don't call a samuha of Purusha as a Purusha, or you don't call a samuha of Stree as a Stree. Therefore, that kind of usage, even though grammatically there is nothing wrong in it, you don't see that in the usage. But Subanta, for example, Subanta is a word that is commonly used for not just one Subanta, but samuha of the Subantas. So this particular usage is acceptable. There is nothing wrong grammatically in the example that you gave. It is mostly about whether it is seen in the usage or not. Okay, so let's actually now go to the Subanta Rupani. Sarva Shabdasya Subanta Rupani. Rama, Mala, Nochet Phala. So Pullinge Rama Shabda Sadrusham, Strilinge Sarva iti Mala Shabda Sadrusham, Napumsakalinge Sarva iti Puna Phala Shabda Sadrusham. Most of the forms. Parantu kutrachit sarva shabdasya rupani bhidyante. So if you, let's go column wise. So pullinge we have sarvaha sarvau sarve. So prathama bahuvachanam, just pratyayanta rupam bhinnamasti. Tadanantaram chaturthi panchami saptami rupam. Chaturthi panchami saptami ekvachanasya rupam. So instead of sarvaya you have sarvasmai. Instead of sarvat you have sarvasmat. And instead of sarve you have sarvasmin. And then Shashti Bahuvachanam, instead of Sarvanam, you have Sarvesham. So 5 forms are different. If you go to Strilinga, again there are 5 forms but slightly different. They are all Chaturthi Ekvachanam. So Sarvayai is wrong. You have Sarvasyai. Similarly, Sarvasyaha is for Panchami and Shashti. Shashti Bahuvachanam is Sarvasam. Saptami Ekvachanam is Sarvasyam. And in the Napumsakalinga, it is exactly same as Pullinga, because Napumsakalinga differs from Pullinga only Prathama Dvitiya cases. Prathama Dvitiya, it is like Phala, Sarvam Sarve Sarvani, Sarvam Sarve Sarvani. Tritiya onwards, it is like Pullinga. So Sarvasmi, Sarvasmat, Sarvesham, and Sarvasmin. So these are the different forms. Other than these forms, Sarva Shabdasya Prakriya, Rama Shabda Sadrushi, Mala Shabda Sadrushi, Phala Shabda Sadrushi eva asti. So now all that we have to study is the sutras that create this kind of difference. The sutras are extremely easy, no Shastra Vishay. Sarvanamnah Smai. And these sutras are very strategically placed. So remember, let's go to the Chaturthi Ekvachanam. The sutram that we discussed in the previous class is Niryaha. Adantadangat parasya Nye pratyasya yakaradeshaha bhavati. Nye is converted to ya, one of the previous classes. The immediate next sutram is Sarvanamnah Smai. सर्वनाम शब्दस्य अदन्तात् अंगात् परस्य ङे प्रत्ययस्य स्मै आदेशः भवति. सो ङेर् यः इत्यनेन अदन्तात् अंगात् परस्य ङे प्रत्ययस्य यकारादेशे प्राप्ते सर्वनाम सम्यक शब्दानां विषये अनेन सूत्रेण अपवादत्वेन स्मै इति आदेशः विधीयते. सो यू हैव सर्व प्लस ङे becomes सर्व प्लस स्मै, सर्वस्मै. And then immediate next sutram, because the context of the Sarvanama is going on, so he piggybacks, milks that context ahead. Nasinyoho smatsminau. Sarvanama adantad angat parasya nasi nyoho. So this is nasi plus ni. Two pratyas. Dvivachanam is used. Nasi plus ni and smat plus smin. Yatha sankhyam mapping bhavati. So nasigyoho smatsmino. Sarvanama is the context that is carried ahead. Sarvanama shabdasya adantat angat parasya nasi pratyasya smat adeshaha ni pratyasya smin adeshaha bhavati. So sarva plus nasi, sarva plus smat, sarvasmat, sarva plus ni, sarva plus min, sarvasmin. It's simple. Once the adesha is done, no further karya happens. Supicha will not happen. This is important because when you have sarva plus not sarva, when you have Rama plus ya is a yayadi sup pratyaya, so a dirgha happens. Similarly, when you have Rama plus dhyam, ya bhakara is in the yay pratyahara, so dirgha happens. But all these adeshas are sakaradi, smai, smat, smin, and sakara is not in the yay pratyahara, so no further translation happens. These are not even on the bahuvachana, so bahuvachana jhalyeta is not applicable. It's just the normal keeping the letters next to each other. Sarvasmi, sarvasmat, sarvasmin. And the remaining was the prathama bahuvachanam. So that's immediately, I think, one sutra later. So jasaha shi. सर्वनाम सम्यक अदन्तात् अंगात् परस्य जस प्रत्ययस्य शी आदेशः भवति. So sarva plus jasa becomes she. This is the dirgha ikara she. This is the she pratyaya that will be further carried into sutras like aungaha apaha and napumsakacha. So immediately next sutram over here will be aungaha apaha, where mala plus au becomes mala plus she, and the next would be napumsakacha, where phala plus au becomes phala plus she. So that she adesha, which starts from jasaha she in the sutram 7.1.17, is for the sarvanama samyaka adanta anga, just pratyasya she adeshaha bhavati. So she is essentially e, sarva plus e, gunaika adeshe sarve iti bhavati. There is one more step that I have omitted over here. Let me speak that. Sarva plus e ityatra. This is the prathama bahuvachanam. So prathamayoho purvasavarna ityanena purvasavarna dirghe prapte nadichi avarnat ichi pare पूर्वसवर्ण दीर्घा न इति तस्य निषेधः भवति, अतः आद्गुणा इति गुणैकादेशे सर्वे इति रूपं सिद्ध्यति. And the previous three, sarvasmai, sarvatma, sarvasmat and sarvasmin, were for the napumsakalinga as well as pullinga, but this one is only for the pullinga. So idam sutram kevalam pullinge eva prayujyate. Napumsakalinge jashasoho shihi. So there is an adesha some 3 sutras later. So 18, 19 and then just shasoho shihi. So napumsakat parasya just shas pratyayoho shi adeshah bhavati. So there is a dirgha shi adesha for pullinga and there is a rasva shi adesha by just shasoho shihi for the napumsakalinga, giving the form as sarvani. So that takes care of sarvasmai, sarvatma, sarvasma, sarvasmin, sarve. The only form that is remaining is shashti bahuvachanam. Am pratyay pare rasvanadyapo nutta. Rasvanadyapo nutta is 7154. I think two sutras before that, it talks about Ami Sarvanamnaha Sutta. So it's all collected together. Am Pratyaye Pare Ami. Shashti Bahuvachanasya Am Pratyaye Pare Sarvanama Samnika Shabdasya Sutta Agamaha Bhavati. So the normal Agama was Nutta, which is given by Rasvanadyapo Nutta. Here you have Sutta Agama. So, am pratyay pare shashti bahuvachanasya am pratyay pare avarnantat sarvanama samnika shabdat. So, avarnanta is for feminine as well as pullinga. So, pullinga strilinga yoho vishaye napumsakalingasya api. अवर्णांतात इत्युक्ते अकारांतात अकारांतात सर्वनाम सम्यकात् अंगात् भीतस्य आम प्रत्ययस्य सुट् आगमः भवति. सो सर्व प्लस आम. लुक एट द प्रक्रिया. सुट् इति आगमः आद्यन्तौ टकितौ इति आद्यवयवः. सर्व प्लस सुट् आम. ट is its samyaka, ukarah uchcharanartha, sa plus am is sam, sarva plus sam, and now this is bahuvachanasya jhaladi pratyaya. So bahuvachane jhalyeta iti etvam sarve sam. As soon as you have ekar, adesha pratyaya will cause a shatvam inkoho. So any swara other than akara and akara is fine. So as soon as you have ekara, adesha pratyaya will cause a shatvam sarvesham iti rupam bhavati. And in the strilinga, sarva, so you have a tak pratyaya first. So sarva plus am, sarva plus sutta plus am, sarva plus sam, normal varna melanam, sarva sam. Bahuvachane jhalyeta is not applicable because bahuvachane jhalyeta is only for rasva akaranta words, not for dirgha akaranta words. And adesha pratyayo shatvam is not applicable because there is akara. Adesha pratyaya used only for ikara and others. Idkoho. So id pratyahara is e and others. What you have over here is a. So that is sarvesham and sarvasam. Let's go back to the table and revise. So we talked about survey, that is jasaha she, sarvasmai, that is sarvanamnaha smai, smat and smin is a single sutram, nasinyo smat sminau, sarvesham is ami sarvanamnaha sutta, same sutram sarvasam also, and obviously pulling napumsakalinga is the same as pullinga, so all the four are also done. So the only forms that are remaining are sarvasyai, sarvasyaha, sarvasyaha and sarvasyam, and again there is just one sutram, so I think 73144 or something, 114. I'm just looking at the in the normal case, mala and so on, we had the sutram called yadapaha, yat agamaha bhavati. So in case of malayai, malayaha and malayam, there is a yat agama. In case of sarvanama words, there is a syat agama. So sarvanama samyakat abantat parasya nit pratyasya स्याट आगमः भवति तथा च अंगस्य ह्रस्वादेशः भवति. So remember the actual rule for the normal akaranta words is abantad angat parasya nit pratyasya yat agamah bhavati. This sutram allows us to derive malayai, malayaha and malayam. The corresponding sutram for the sarvanama samnika shabda is instead of yat agama you have syat agama and angasya hrasvaha api bhavati. So sarvanamnaha syadhrasvascha sarvanama samnikat abantat angat bhitasya nit pratyasya syat iti agamaha bhavati तथा च अंगस्य ह्रस्वादेशः विधीयते. सो सर्वा प्लस ङे चतुर्थी एकवचनस्य उदाहरणं ङे इज ए स्याट इति आगमः ट इति सम्यकः अस्ति स्या इति अवशिष्यते अंगस्य ह्रस्वादेशः. सो सर्वा बिकम्स सर्व. बोथ ऑफ देम आर गिवन इन द सेम सूत्रम सर्वनाम्नः स्याट ह्रस्वः च. So both the tasks are in the same sutram. Sarva plus syat, sarva plus sya plus a. Normal vruddhi sandhi, sarva plus syai, sarvasyai. Similarly, sarvasyaha and sarvasyam. So in case of sarvasyam, neram nadyam nibhya will convert ni to am. That part is untouched. Instead of yadapaha, you have to apply sarvanamna syad hrasvasya. So syat is added. Finally, akasavardi dirgha gives sarvasyam. So that completes the table for the server word. These are the sutras. I think let's go through them in 1 minute. Sarvanamnaha smai. Adanta sarvanamangat vihitasya nge pratyasya smai adeshaha bhavati. That's the sarvanamna smai. Ngasinyoho smatsminau. Adanta sarvanamangat vihitasya ngasi pratyasya smat adeshaha ngi pratyasya cha smin adeshaha. So sarvasmat and sarvasmin. Then jasaha shi. Adanta sarvanamangat vihitasya jas pratyasya shi adeshaha bhavati. सर्व प्लस जस सर्व प्लस शी सर्व प्लस ई सर्वे अत्र प्रथमयोः पूर्वसवर्णा इत्यनेन यः पूर्वसवर्ण दीर्घः प्राप्नोति तस्य नादीचि इत्यनेन बाधा भवति अतः गुणे कृते सर्वे इति अन्तिमं रूपं सिद्ध्यति एंड दिस इज ओनली फॉर पुल्लिंग. आमी सर्वनाम्नः सुट् अवर्णान्त सर्वनाम सम्यक शब्दात् विहितस्य षष्ठी बहुवचनस्य आम प्रत्ययस्य नुट् सुट् आगमः भवति. So the normal आगमः is nut, but in case of sarvanama it is sut. Sarva plus am. I have taught the prakriya sarvesham and sarvasam. Finally sarvanamna syad hrasvasya abanta sarvanama samdika angat vihitasya gnit pratyasya syat आगमः भवति. So instead of yat there is a syat. तथा च अंगस्य ह्रस्वादेशः अपि भवति. सर्वा becomes सर्व. ङे gets a syat agama. सर्वस्यै सर्वस्याः सर्वस्याम. Same prakriya is copied over here as well. That completes one word, sarva. Now rest words that we have in our course are tada is there, etada is there. I don't remember yada, but yada is very simple, so I have slide for that. So yada and dvi is there and kim is there. So these are the words that we are going to talk. All these words, at least till dvi, are in the tyadadi gana. So I mentioned tyadadi gana is used for tyada till kim, but in this particular discussion, tyadadi gana will stop at dvi. So this is the tyadadi gana. The prakriyas for all these words will be very similar because there is a special karya that happens for tyadadi gana. I'll teach that, and then in a single slide we will be able to cover all these 5 words, and then there is one more slide just for the kim word. Any questions so far? Okay, no questions. Agre gacchamaha. So let's start with one word in that tyadadi gana. Dakaranta sarvanama samyaka shabdaha tad iti. Tad iti shabdaha tyadadi gane vidyate. Sarveshu, now this is important, understand this. Sarveshu vibhakti pratyeshu pareshu tyadadi ganasya ikara must be hraswa. It's tyadadi gana. So sarveshu vibhakti pratyeshu pareshu tyadadi ganasya त्यद इत्यस्मात् आरभ्य द्वि इति पर्यंत शब्दानां किंचित विशेषम कार्यम उक्तमस्ति. So as I mentioned, tyadadigana is typically taken from tyada to kim, but some karyas are only restricted from tyada to dvi. So in this particular case, the karya that we are interested in is only for tyada till dvi. And what is that karya? The sutram is very peculiar. It says tyadadi namaha, tyadadi namaha, tyadadi nam aha, tyadadi ganasya shabdanam vibhakti pratyeye pare akaradeshaha bhavati. So whatever is the last letter of the words of tyadadi gana, replace it with akara. So let's take example of tada. Tada ayam shabdha tyadadi gane vidyate. Atra tyadadi namaha iti sutram prayujyate. Tyadadi namaha iti sutrasya kaha arthah iti chet. Tyadadi ganasya shabdanam sarveshu vibhakti pratyeshu parishu. All 21 pratyas akaradeshah bhavati. So when you have tada plus su, alontyasya will give the akaradesha on the last letter. So it is the dakara which is converted to a. So in the very first step, you will say tada plus su, tada ta plus su. There is actually one more step in the tada plus su, but I'll talk about it later on. From second vibhakti onwards, au onwards, the examples are clear. Tada plus au becomes ta plus au. Tada plus jasa becomes ta plus jasa, and so on everywhere till the last pratyaya. Tada plus super, ta plus super. So the sutram is very interesting. त्यदादि नामः इति सूत्रेण अत्र अन्तिमवर्णस्य इत्युक्ते तद इत्यस्य दकारस्य यद इत्यस्य अपि दकारस्य. So let's go to that list. I'm only going to talk about the stuff that is in the syllabus. So tada ityasya dakarasya, yada ityasya dakarasya, etada ityasya dakarasya, and dvi ityasya ikarasya. So the last letter of the members of Tyadadi Gana, which is only from Tyada onwards up till Dvi, is converted to a. So you have ta, and as soon as you have two akaras next to each other, ato gune. Remember the sutram ato gune, which we have studied in the class on the Varna Karyam. It is over here. Ato gune. This sutram अपादांत अकारात गुणे परतः पररूपमेकादेशः भवति. So avarnant, apadant akara. So the akara at the end of ta is all apadanta, and then there is akara next to it. So etadrishe akare akaradeshe krute ityukte त्यदादि नामः इत्यनेन अकारादेशे कृते तकारोत्तरः अकारः तथा च आदेशरूपेण विहितः अकारः एतयोः द्वयोः अतो गुणे इति पररूप एकादेशः अकारः भवति. So ta becomes ta. So in all these prakriyas, eventually, even if the first step is tada plus jasa, it is going to become ta plus jasa. And ta is now an akaranta sarvanama word. So it will run exactly like sarva. So forget about prathama ekvachanam, that is a special case, I'll talk about it. But other than that, sarvau sarve tau te, sarvam sarvau sarvam tam tau tam, sarvasmai tasmai, sarvasmat tasman, sarvesham tesham. So just do a replacement of the word sarva by the word ta and you get the prakriya of tada. So the prakriya of tada is done, yada is done, etad is done. Even dvi is done. Dvi becomes dva. Dvi has only dvivachana forms. So dvau, dvabhyam, dvau, dvau, dvabhyam, 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 dvayoho, dvayoho. Just like the sarva word or rama word, it will run. So for all the words of Tyadadi Gana, the only crucial sutram is Tyadadi Namaha. That last dakara is converted to akara. Ta plus a undergoes a purva rupa, a pararupa ekadesha to form a ta. Now that you have Rasva Akaranta Sarvanama, entire prakriya is like the Sarva word. So ta iti Akaranta Sarvanama Shabde Prapte Agre Avashishta Sakala Prakriya Sarva Shabda Sadrushi Eva Bhavati Strilinge Api ta iti Adeshe Krute Anantaram Tap Pratyaya Bhavati. Because the rule, we are going to learn that in the next module itself, the rule is that tap pratyaya is typically to be added for akaranta words. So while it was in the state of tada, you cannot add a tap. Only when it becomes ta, you can add the tap pratyaya. Tap pratyayam yojayitva ta iti siddhe. So this is actually a very unique case where subanta prakriya starts. One sutram of subanta prakriya is executed and then a stri pratyaya is added because of some typical constraints. So ta pratyayam yujayitva ta iti siddhe agre sarva shabda sadrushani eva rupani bhavanti. So all the cases of tada or yada or etada or even dvi are exactly like sarva shabda. Kim is different. Kim is outside that particular section. So the Tyadadi Gana that we are discussing right now is Tyada tad yad etad idam adas ekad dvi. Kim is outside that. So for Kim, we will talk about what happens in a minute. But other than that, एतद् शब्दस्य रूपाणि, यद् शब्दस्य रूपाणि, तद् शब्दस्य रूपाणि तादृशम् एव भवन्ति. The only difference is the prathama ekvachanam. The prathama ekvachanam is not taha, it is saha. But other than that prathama ekvachanam, everywhere else, so saha taute, tam tautam, tena tabhyam te, even in the strilinga and even in the napumsakalinga, tat te tani. So in the napumsakalinga, swamor napumsakat will get rid of the su and ama. So the prathama ekvachanam and the dvitiya ekvachanam form will be tad as it is. So tyadadi namaha will not act because the swamor napumsakata gets rid of the su and the ama pratyaya. That is done by luka. Once the pratyaya luka happens, nalumatangasya will block any kind of angakarya. So in the napumsakalinga, tada plus su or tada plus the only karya is su and being removed by swamor napumsakat. Only tada remain. So that's the prathama ekvachanam and dvitiya ekvachanam tada. In all other cases, it is like sarve sarvani te tani. In prathama dvivachanam and prathama bahuvachanam, there will be tyadadi namaha ta plus a giving rise to ta and the sarva shabda sadrishi eva prakriya bhavati. So this is the reason why I could choose all these words and just fit it in one class. Is just one sutram tyadadi nama that takes care of all these words. The only difference is that prathama ekvachanam, we will see a separate sutram for that. But before that, let's quickly go to this tyadadi namaha sutram. Tyadadi nam dviparyantanam. I have been again and again saying that tyadadi gana is the full one. Tyad tad yad etad idamadas ekadvi yushmadasad bhavatu kim. But in this sutram, it is only dviparyanta. So tyadadinam dviparyantanam akaraha antadeshaha syat. So tyadadiganasya shabdanam angasya vibhakti pratyay pare akaradeshaha bhavati dviparyantam eva ishtihi. So the original sutram does not talk about dviparyantam. There is a vartikam that vartikakara has added on that. So dviparyantam eva ishtihi. त्यदादिगणस्य केवलं द्विशब्दपर्यन्तम् एव अस्य सूत्रस्य प्रयोगः इष्यते युष्मदादीनां विषये. So after dvi there are four more words in tyadadigana. Yushmad asmad bhavatu kim. The prayojan of that will be somewhere else. You see that in the tadhita prakanam. But yushmad asmad bhavatu kim ityetesham vishaye atra idam sutram na prayuktavyam. Those who have memorized 1.1, I hope most of you, all the way at the 1.1 there is a sutram tyadadini cha eng pracham deshe. So those two sutras, the tyadadini cha 1174 sutram, all the way at the end of first pada, that tyadadini cha sutram is reference to the tyadadigana, which is the full tyadadigana. Actually, let's go to this one. Tyadadi, that is used in the tadhita prakriya. So tyadadini cha is 1174. So tyad tad yad etam idadam asas ekadvi yushmadasmad bhavatu kim. So iti tyadadi ganaha. So here it is not dvi paryantam. This particular sutram, I am not teaching it right now. This will be used in the tadhita prakaranam. In Tadhi, we probably will not learn it, but it is a part of Tadhita Prakaranam. So in this particular sutram, the entire Tyadadi Gana is considered. But for now, Tyadadi Namaha, it's only Dviparyantam. So Dviparyantam eva ishtihi. Atra Dviparyanta Shabdanam eva. Atra Akaraha Antyadeshaha bhavati. So Tada plus au becomes Ta plus au. Ato gune Ta au tau. Dvi plus au. Dva plus au. Why is there atoguni? It's not atoguni is not required. So dvi plus au, ikara becomes akara. So dva plus a. So e, there is no half. There is no atoguni needed over here. So dva plus e plus au, that ikara is converted to akara. So dva plus a. So that's dva plus au vruddhi ekadeshi dvau. Anena prakarena sarvani rupani atra siddhyanti. The only thing that is remaining is prathama ekavachanam. Before that, any questions? If time permits, you may advise about the usage of these words in the language. Sadly, we won't get time. I have enough material till at least for 20 more minutes. But the usage is actually given in the website and it is very easy to understand. So I recommend you read it if in 1.1.27. And if something is not clear, I'm happy to take your questions in one of the next classes. So all the usage and so on, everything is given over here. So all the meanings and so on, everything is given. Any further questions? Okay. Now let's talk about Prathama Ekvachanam. त्यदादिगणस्य शब्दानां विषये प्रथमा एकवचनस्य कृते एकं विशिष्टं कार्यम् उक्तम् अस्ति. What is that karya? Let us take the word tad as an example. The karya says that for a word of tyadadigana, look at any takara or any dakara. So either a takara or a dakara present in that word of tyadadigana which is not at the end of that word. So what is the karya? Find. Karya means I have not yet told the karya. I am telling you the sthani. Find a takara and a dakara which is not at end of that word. So let's actually, before we see what is the karya, let's do that exercise. What is the exercise? Go to the words of tyadadigana, that is basically tyad, tad, yad, etad, idam, adas, ekadvi. Find a takara or a dakara which is not at end of the word. So in tyada, it is the first takara. Dakara is there, but it is at the end, so we have to ignore it. In tada, it is the first takara. In yada, there is a dakara, but it is at the end, so we will ignore it. In etada, there is a takara. In idama, there is a dakara which is not at the end. And in adasa, there is a dakara which is not at the end. And eka and dvi, they don't have the takara or dakara. This particular dakara of dvi is not considered because it's not needed in the prathama ekvachanam. This particular prakriya is only prathama ekvachanam, su pratyaya pare. And for dvi, there is no su pratyaya pare prakriya. Dvi is nitya dvivachananta. So for dvi, this dakara is useless. So we'll keep that aside. But for tyada, it is takara. So I have marked it over on the screen. You can ignore the words idam and others for now. They are not in the scope. But in general, tyada also you can ignore, it is not in the scope. But in the scope, we have three words, tyada, tada, yada, etada. Out of these words, the takara, the initial takara of tada, the middle takara of etada. So the sutram says that I am not yet told the sutram. The sutram is tadoho saha savanantyayoho. Tadoho saha savanantyayoho. This sutram says tyadaदिगणस्य शब्देषु विद्यमानः यः तकारः दकारः च अन्ते नास्ति. So whichever middle takara or initial takara dakar you have picked, तस्य सुप्रत्यये परे सकारादेशः भवति. So whichever takara or dakara you have picked, convert it to sakara. So त्यदादिगणस्य शब्देषु विद्यमानः यः तकारः दकारः वा शब्दस्य अन्ते नास्ति तस्य सुप्रत्यये परे सकारादेशः भवति. तदोः सः इत्युक्ते तकार दकारस्य सकारादेशः. Savanantyayoho, let's break up that word. Savanantyayoho is sau anantyayoho. Savanantyayoho. Sau means supratyaye pare. So supratyayasya sandarbhena takara dakarasya sakaradeshah bhavati. Kidrishah takarah dakarah anantyayoho, non-terminal. Antimaha yaha nasti. Tasya takara dakarasya sakaradeshah bhavati. So it may be it may be takara or it may be dakara. Both of them get converted to sakara. So त्यदादिगणस्य शब्देषु विद्यमानः या तकारः वा दकारः शब्दस्य अन्ते नास्ति तस्य सुप्रत्यये परे तदोससावनन्त्ययोः इत्यनेन सकारादेशः भवति. So in case of tada plus su, there is a takara and there is a dakara, but dakara शब्दस्य अन्ते अस्ति अतः तस्य चिन्तनं न करणीयम्. तकारः तु शब्दस्य अन्ते नास्ति तस्य स्थाने अनेन सूत्रेण सकारादेशः भवति. So what you have to do is first you convert that takara to sakara because this is the parasutram, so you apply it first. So tada plus su, ta becomes a sa. Sada plus su. The is not going to be touched because it is the last letter. But ta will be touched. Sada plus su. then tyadadinamah ittenena dakarasya akaradesha bhavati. So this dakara is going to undergo an akaradesha. You can do it first also, it doesn't matter. The prakriya is on a different entities. So when you have tada, the takara is getting converted to sakara. So that's a prakriya on one part. Dakara, this conversion of ta to sa is by tadoho sa savanankeyoho. Whereas dakara is going to be converted to akara by tyadadi namaha. So two different parts of the word are getting two different adeshas. You can choose any krama. As I mentioned in one of the previous classes, the general convention is to do the parasutram, use the parasutram first. So first we will say tada plus suta getting converted to sa, sada plus su. Even tada gets converted to sada. The tyadadi gana membership is not going anywhere. So tadyadadigana membership is still there. So tyadadi namaha ittenena dakarasya akaradeshah bhavati. So ta becomes a sa and the becomes a. So you have sa plus a, ato gune, the full sa, I mean the akara is absorbed. So you have sa plus su iti sthite rutva visargau krutva saha iti antimam rupam siddhiti. So that's how saha is created. Other than saha, tau te tam tautana and so on, exactly like the server word. In the same way, etad plus su ityatra yameva prakriya pravartate. So you have a saha. So tada becomes saha, a saha, and then because that sakara comes after ekara, adesha pratyaho converts it to shakara. See, everything is now falling in place. And e shaha iti antimam rupam siddhiti. And for yada, there is no takara and there is no dakara. So this extra step of conversion to sakara does not happen. So yada plus su ityatra kevalam dakaraha vartate saha shabdasya ante asti tasya krute idam sutram na pravartate kevalam avashishtam prakriyam krutva ityukte da becomes a, then you have ato gune ya plus su ऋत्व विसर्गो यह. सो यद शब्द से सर्वाणि अपि रूपाणि सर्व शब्द सदृशानि एव सन्ति. यह यौ ये लाइक सर्वा सर्वो सर्वे यह यौ ये ऑल फॉर्म्स आर आइडेंटिकल. सो यह इति अंतिमं रूपं सिद्ध्यति. सो दैट्स द सूत्रम तदोः सह सामनन्त्ययोः त्यदादीनां तकार दकारयोः अनन्त्ययोः सह स्यात् सौ परे. सो त्यदादिगणस्य शब्दानाम् अंगस्य अंतिम भिन्न तकारस्य, दिस शुड बी वन वर्ड, अंतिम भिन्न तकारस्य दकारस्य च सु प्रत्यये परे सकारादेशः भवति. सो त्यदादिगण शब्दानाम् अंतिम भिन्न तकारस्य दकारस्य सु प्रत्यये परे सकारादेशः भवति. त्यद तद becomes सद becomes सः and एतद becomes एषः. That completes tadoho sasavanimtyoho, which means we have completed the prakriya for tad, etad, yad, etad and dvi completely. We have already studied sarva, we have already studied bhavatu because there is no sarvanama specific karyam, and the only prakriya remaining is kim. There is only one sutram and we are done. Any questions before that? Okay, if no questions, let's go ahead. So remember this sutram tyadadi namaha. त्यदादि गणस्य शब्दानां विभक्ति प्रत्यये परे अकारादेशः भवति. So त्यद, sorry, so tad, if you take tad, that dakara is getting converted to akara, and this sutram is only applicable to tyad, tad, yad, etad, idam, adas, ekadvi. And now kim is outside that boundary. So what to do for kim? Immediately next sutra gives an answer, kimaha kaha. So kim shabdasya vibhakti pratyaya pare ka iti adeshah bhavati. This is a full adesha, anikal adesha. It is not half ka, so it is ka plus a. In case of previous tyadadi nama, it was only akara. Here it is ka plus a, full ka is there. So anekal shit sarvasya iti sampurna adesha rupena vidyate, sarvadesha rupena vidyate. So entire kim is replaced by ka. Now it is akaranta sarvanama it behaves like sarva. Kaha kauke kam kaukan kena kabhyam kai kasmai. So sarvasmai kasmai. Sarvasmat kasmat. Sarvasmin kasmin. Sarvesham kesham. Sarvasam kasam. So it's exactly like sarva. So the simple sutram kimaha kaha, that's the last sutram of the fifth module of our course, the Subanta Prakaranam. Kimaha kaha, kimaha kaha syad vibhaktau. किम सर्वनाम शब्दस्य विभक्ति प्रत्यय परे ककारादेशः भवति अनेकाल्त्वात् अयं सर्वादेशः किम इति संपूर्णस्य शब्दस्य स्थाने क इति शब्दः विधीयते तदनन्तरं सर्वशब्दसदृशी एव प्रक्रिया भवति स्त्रीलिंगे टाप प्रत्यय I have seen टाप प्रत्यय स्त्रीलिंगे टाप प्रत्ययः स्त्रीलिंगे टाप प्रत्ययः अपि ककारादेशात् अनन्तरम् एव विधीयते. So you have किमः क giving kim converted to ka, you apply the tap after that. Unless you get an adanta form, you cannot apply tap. I'll teach that in the next module. So strilinge tap pratyaya tadantaram kakara deshadanantaram vidyate, and then all prakriyas ka plus su, kim plus su, kim becomes ka plus su, kaha, kim plus au, ka plus au, kau, and so on. So sarva shabda sadrushi prakriya bhavati. Strilinge kim plus bhyam, ka plus tap plus bhyam, ka plus bhyam, ka bhyam. And with this, we have completed the kim word, and along with that, the sarvanam shabdas for the whatever were prescribed in the course are now complete, which also means, believe me or not, all the prakriyas for all the 70 words prescribed in the Abhyasa Pustakam is done. The sutras have been taught. Therefore, the final exercise, Abhyasa Pustake Vidyamanaha Sarvaha Avashishtaha Prakriyaha Lekhaniyaha. And with this, we are here. The 50th class is over. The 5th module, Subanta Prakaranam of our course is now complete. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Probably this is being overwhelming. I have a few things not related to the subject matter to discuss. So what next? In yesterday's class, I mentioned I'm happy to give break if people want to catch up. I got some messages personally requesting for a break. Some people asked to break till December and January. I actually cannot give like 3 months break. But let's have at least a 2 weeks break. So we will take a 2 weeks break for allowing everyone to complete the Abhyasa Pustakam. So, I am assuming that you have at least started the Abhyasa Pustakam. If not, reach till class 50, till class 45, 44, 46, you must have gone somewhere. If not, it's too late. Please start as soon as possible. In 2 weeks, try to complete the Abhyasa Pustakam as much as you can. You can take 3 weeks also, but the break will be for 2 weeks. About the submission of Abhyasa Pustakam, the Abhyasa Pustakam is to be completed for your own practice. It is not to be uploaded to the classroom. It is not to be submitted anywhere. I don't want to grade it. I don't have time to see 70 words of 30 students and look at every prakriya, which will be like 6-7 steps, and find out what mistake lies where. So Abhyasa Pustakam is not to be submitted anywhere. It is to be completed for your own practice. What happens after the 2 weeks break? After the 2 weeks break, if you are interested, so we will take this topic offline on the group. So if you are interested, then we will hold sessions to discuss the Abhyasa Pustakam. If there is very little interest or there is no interest, then I'll directly start the next module. I have sufficient PPTs ready. I should be able to discuss the next module. If you are interested in discussing the Abhyasa Pustakam, so if the discussion sessions are held, then you will have to pick up one or more of the 70 words. So you have to volunteer saying, I will do Rama, I will do the word Muni, I will pick up the word Mala, and so on. So you will pick up one or more of the 70 words and discuss the Prakriya for all the Subanta forms in the class. So you will have to volunteer. You can create PPTs, you can present your completed Abhyasa Pustakam, or you can just explain the Prakriya verbally without preparing any material. It's completely up to you. I'm not preparing any PPT. It is completely up to you. and how much interest is there, and just the interest is not sufficient, people need to volunteer. I mean, if there is interest of 2 people and they volunteer for only 5 words, then remaining 60 words are not being assigned to anyone. So I will see if there is sufficient interest, and if we are able to cover all the 70 words or most of the words, I will, before starting the sixth module, after 2 weeks, I will start the revision of Abhyasa Pustakam. If there is no interest, or if people don't want to complete the Abhyasa Pustakam, then I'll directly go to the sixth module. Any comments on this particular slide before I go ahead? There is a comment over here. Can you please discuss yesterday's 2 slides? I think you're talking about Purva Vipratishedha. We'll discuss them at maybe some other point in time, or today I don't think I want to discuss them. It's already saturated with the stuff on Sarvanama, and that discussion won't be happen in 10-15 minutes. There are 2 Vartikas. It will at least take 30, 35, 40 minutes, maybe at some other point in time. Or you can read, and if there is something you don't understand, you can ask me. Or maybe in one of the Abhyasa Vargas, if time permits, I can definitely teach those slides. Somebody is saying a comment, it would be good to get assigned Shabdas for each of us. I'm happy to assign the Shabdas, but I don't know the commitment from each individual. So I don't want to force any word for someone. What I can do is I can share a Google Sheet which has 70 words in one column and the second column is empty. And those of you are interested, you can write your own name in the second column. If you want to pick up all 70 words, that is also okay. I mean, I'm not saying pick up only one or two. If whatever number of words you can pick up, you want to pick up, you pick up. It is your responsibility to teach those words in the class. You can either prepare PPTs, I'll hand over the control to you, or you can share the PPT with me, I'll present and you can just tell me next, next, next. Or you can just present your Abhyasa Pustakam completed, or just discuss verbally also. That is also fine, fine. No need to prepare anything. So maybe after the class, I will share a Google Sheet with the 70 words in one column and empty second column. You put your names. If the Abhyasa Pustakam is full with volunteers, I will be more than happy to spend time on the Abhyasa Pustakam. But as I said, it should come from you rather than, me just sitting over here and randomly talking Rama plus Su, Rutva Visargau Rama, Rama plus Au, Vriddhi Rechi Ramo, and so on is not going to help. You will have to do the work on your own. Okay, let's go ahead. There is another topic, the 2 more topics actually that I want to discuss. First is we started this course a year ago with around 70 students. A lot of students dropped, it's typical, normal. A lot of students dropped on meanwhile. We have 30 students currently in the group, so 40 students dropped in. And some of these students actually told various things to me before or after leaving the course, and I've just summarized some of the reflections, some of the thoughts, some of the comments that they have been saying. And I think I'm pretty sure even amongst the 30 of you, there are some of you who have these things at the back of your mind, but you are not able to put it in words, or you're not able to tell this, you didn't get a chance to tell this. So this is just a reflection from the past students of this course. I'm not saying this maps to you, but I'm just, because I have collected so much of stuff, I just wanted to present it over here. The first most common complaint or comment was that the course is becoming too difficult for me. As soon as the Hal Sandhi started, a bunch of students quit, saying this course is becoming too difficult for me. At the beginning of Subanta Prakriya, a few students told me, I do not find writing Prakriyas as an interesting exercise. A few more students said, I do not find time for regular revision and for catching up on the homeworks. I think most of you would probably agree to this. The pace of the class is too fast. I think there are some of the YouTube comments also that say the pace of class is too fast. You can always change the speed 0.75, 0.5 on YouTube and listen it slowly. But I have a limitation of fitting much material in 10 classes. So this is something I can't really change. Then another comment, I am unable to follow everything that is being taught. Or some people say I can understand when I listen to the class, but I struggle when I try to do prakriyas on my own. There was one student who wrote a very hilarious email, said, there are too many sutras to remember. It is getting confusing. And then the next statement was that I have started believing that Panini created these sutras just to test my patience and my handwriting. So people quit, and then there are multiple reasons for them. You all are staying over here, so really appreciate, hats off. The only advice that I have on this background, which is applicable probably to you all as well, is the very first point you have to understand is Ashtadhyayi study or grammar is not necessarily for everyone. You might have joined this course with a certain idea in mind that Ashtadhyayi study would be done in a certain way, and then probably there is a mismatch of your expectations. So if you are not enjoying this course or grammar, so it can be both things, that you might not enjoy grammar or you might not enjoy the specific style in which I am teaching. You probably enjoy a different kind of teaching. It happens. So if you do not enjoy the grammar, it is a good time to pause, reflect. If needed, it is okay to withdraw from the course. I am not going to feel bad. It is always better to pursue what truly interests you. So personally, if you ask me, grammar will still be needed. But later on, when you do kavyas, for example, and when you really understand the need of using grammar, if at that point in time you are studying grammar, it might be that passion for studying grammar might come more from within rather than today just forcing that from my side. So this is, I'm not saying you all should quit. I'm just saying that grammar and the course is going to get more and more difficult. Subantas was like a small piece of cake, Tiganta and a small, what can you say, the tip of iceberg that you see. Tigantas and Krudantas are going to be huge submerged iceberg inside that ocean. So think if you want to catch up on the grammar, continue with the grammar. And if you think grammar is for you, but the pace is high, you are definitely welcome to continue attending offline, learn at your own pace. Some of the students, there are many students of you on you who are regularly following the course on the YouTube. So recording the materials are always there on the YouTube. What I recommend is consistency is extremely important than speed. So even a slow but a steady learner will make the real progress. And I have explicitly told this to some of the students. So I'm writing it over here. All of us can afford to spend 30 minutes browsing Instagram. So 10 minutes revising one sutram or one prakriya. That's all that is needed. Dinat urdhvam ashabdikaha. Just every day one sutra is fine, and you should be able to finish up the sutras very quickly. So one prakriya, one sutram, the consistency is needed. So whether it is Diwali, whether it is Ganesha, Golu and so on, spend 10 minutes for one sutram, one slide. That's all that I'm asking. Nothing else, including Saturdays, Sundays and so on. I do that, so I have a right to tell you that. Mastering the sutras and the prakriyas cannot be done merely by listening. Some people say, I listen to your classes 10 times. Even if you listen 10 million times, even if you memorize every word that I speak, you will not master the prakriya. It will require writing. That is the reason Abhyasa Pustakam is given. No other course in Ashtadhyayi that you will ever see will force the students to write 70 words like this in the table in form of an Abhyasa Pustakam. The sutras and the siddhi can only be mastered by writing, revising and rewriting. There is no shortcut to that, and therefore that has to be done. This struggle is a part of the process. Everyone, including myself, have gone through it. So if you think that there's too much of the work, it is not too much. Imagine somebody who is writing 400 words and the entire prakriya. Or when you go to the Tinganta Prakaranam, there are 2000 dhatus, 10 lakaras. Each lakara will have 3 purushas and 3 vachanas. There's so much to write. This is just the tip of the iceberg that you're writing. So writing, revising, rewriting, there is absolutely no shortcut to that. Any questions, comments on this? Okay. So the next slide is not for you all. It is specifically for a different set of folks. And I'm just recording it over here because there are students who regularly watch all YouTube videos as soon as they are uploaded. And I know them because they write to me with the questions on those videos. Some of them have also asked me if I will allow them an entry in the class. There are many students who have studied initial part of Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi only up to the Subanta Prakaranam or only up to the Sandhi Prakaranam, and they were denied the admission all the way at the beginning of the course because the strict requirement was that you should be illiterate in Ashtadhyayi. If you knew a little bit of Ashtadhyayi, I straight away denied the admission. But some of these students have been writing to me saying that we have only studied some part of Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, that you have already reached the end. So now can we join the remaining classes? So after thinking through, I have decided to allow these new admissions. So I have received several requests from students who have been following the course on YouTube and wish to attend the sessions in person. Such students are welcome to join, but the rules applicable to you are same as the rules applicable to them. And I'm not circulating this as a WhatsApp message because I don't want any random person to come and join. It should be specifically those people who have already watched the videos so far on the YouTube. So if they have reached till class number 50 and they read this slide, then they will be able to reach out to me. So if those students have watched all the classes conducted so far on the YouTube and are familiar with the material that is covered, they agree to complete the Abhyasa Pustakam, the future Abhyasa Pustakam. There will be an Abhyasa Pustakam for Tinganta and for Krudanta. So they agree to complete these Abhyasa Pustakams, all the upcoming homework assignments in a timely manner. They agree to attend the classes in person. They are willing to actively participate in the discussion. They are ready to review and so on. So if they are going to be as dedicated as the current 30, 25, 30 students are, then those students who are watching this video right now may send an email to me and I will take a call on a personal basis. I'll definitely not allow somebody who has studied the entire Laghu Siddhanta Modi and then just want to come over here for revision. I want to make sure the standard of knowledge of the class is at a certain level. But those who have studied only till Subanta Prakaranam or only till Sandhi Prakaranam and have followed Subanta Prakaranam using the videos are welcome to join the course. They can send an email to me. So that's all. With this, we will close the class today. The fifth module is over. We are going to have a break for 2 weeks. There is a time change. The clocks are shifting over here in the US. So there will be a small change in the timing for those who are attending from India. I'll send the details on the WhatsApp group. But other than that, if there are no questions and comments, we will stop. ओके, समापयामः। अष्टाध्यायी जगन्माता यस्य चित्तात् समत्थिता वेदानामपकाराय तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः। शब्द ब्रह्म समाराध्य कृतवान्यो विलक्षणं सर्वाश्चर्यमिदं शास्त्रं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः। येन धौतागिरः पुंसां विमलैः शब्दवारिभिः तमश्चाज्ञानजं भिन्नं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः। धन्यवादः।